Qualitative Research, Link Campus University. Aim and Objectives. In this presentation, we will introduce the main aspects of qualitative research and the most used qualitative research techniques. Learning outcomes. At the end of this presentation, you will be able to know the difference between qualitative and quantitative research, define at least 3 research techniques. Terms and keywords. Thanks to this presentation, you will learn keywords like qualitative research and user needs. Introduction to qualitative research. When you design a new product or service, you have to know the real needs of the users. So you will need to do research. There are many ways you can do it, and the choice depends on the tools and the resources available. So you can choose between qualitative research and quantitative research approach. Quantitative research is based on the analysis of numbers and statistics. Moreover, quantitative research can be used to quantify habits, behaviors, opinions, physical characteristics, and other defined variables. A quantitative study usually requires a large number of participants to reach a statistical significance. Participants must be selected to be representative of a population. This is called a sample. For example, after a quantitative study, you can say that 3 out of 5 persons like rock and roll music. And that they are representative of a given sample. For example, boys and girls between 15 and 18 years old. Qualitative research, on the other hand, focuses on understanding why and how people do something. Most of the methods used imply a direct contact with people. The sample is smaller to allow in-depth questioning and close observation. As the sample is not big, participants should be chosen carefully. For example, if I'm investigating on students' habits inside school, I can choose to interview an experienced teacher. Qualitative research is said to be exploratory because one doesn't have a preconceived vision of what the study will deliver. It provides insights into an individual's or group's underlying reasons, opinions, and motivations. It can uncover trends and expose problems. Qualitative studies can be supported by quantitative data because decision makers don't trust the small sample size of qualitative research and want also quantitative proof. There are 2 levels of research according to the data sources, the effort and the time required to collect them. At the primary level, we collect new data on the fields, for example, with direct contact with people, through interviews, focus group and surveys, even on a very large scale. At the secondary level, we use existing data and information for further analysis, for example, statistics, historical series, newspapers, artifacts, and so on. Qualitative research techniques. Interview. It is a qualitative and moderated technique because we need a moderator to manage the talk. It is a one-to-one meeting between the researcher and the participant discussing topics of interest. The researcher can follow a structured list of topics or can let the participant talk freely. Focus group, qualitative and moderated approach. It is group discussion moderated by a researcher. The group is formed by target users or stakeholders. The moderator tries to let the group focus on topics that are relevant for the research. Thinking aloud. It is a qualitative and unmoderated approach because we don't need a moderator to manage the discussion. It is a technique that can be used during a lab test or an informal evaluation. The user is asked to comment the activity or task that is doing. For example, what is she looking at? Thinking at? How does she feel? This allows to have an insight into the participant cognitive and emotional process. Ethnographic studies, a qualitative and moderated or unmoderated technique. An ethnographic study is an on-field activity that involves observing people in their natural context while they perform their tasks, which are relevant for the research. It is useful to understand how people behave and interact, but also the role of the context in their day-to-day activities. Diary studies, qualitative and unmoderated technique. In diary studies, participants collect autonomously the information about their daily activities and experiences over a certain period of time with texts, photos, recordings. All the documents are analyzed at the end of the observed period by a researcher. There are methods that can be quantitative or qualitative, like surveys and usability tests. Surveys, quali and quantitative, and unmoderated approach. Surveys are usually quantitative methods used to collect data in a fast way through a series of questions. However, with the inclusion of open questions, it could become a quantitative tool. Usability testing, quantitative and moderated technique. Participants are asked to perform a list of tasks using a software or a specific tool in a controlled place. The lab and the devices are equipped to record the activity of the users. A camera could be used by the researchers to observe participants without interfering. The test could be run remotely using a specific software. Synopsis. This presentation was about qualitative research, introducing its basic concepts and the most used techniques for the development of interactive projects. Now that you've finished watching it, you should be able to know the difference between qualitative and quantitative research, define at least 3 research techniques. This is the list of references and the further readings suggested. Thank you for your attention.